Stop and watch immediately. Do not brush this off as another passing word, because something has been moving around you in silence, and heaven will not let it stay hidden any longer. There is a truth about her that is finally here, and before this word is over, you are going to understand why your spirit kept tightening around certain conversations, why peace kept leaving the room after certain names came up, and why what looked harmless on the surface carried a weight you could never fully explain. Listen carefully, chosen one. This is not random timing. This is not emotional paranoia. This is not you becoming too sensitive, too guarded, or too difficult. This is discernment, being forced to wake up because a door is standing in front of you, and if you do not watch now, you will misread the movement around your life. And there is another part I need you to stay for, because the most dangerous thing about her was never the first thing you noticed. It was something deeper, quieter, and far more calculated than you first imagined. I will name it, but not yet, because if I tell you too early, you may react too quickly and miss what God is exposing. Beloved, there are moments when the Lord does not whisper. He interrupts, He arrests your attention, He puts pressure on your spirit, because there is something unfolding behind the scenes that cannot be handled casually. This is one of those moments. The unease you have felt was not meaningless. The check in your spirit was not a flaw in your personality. The hesitation you could not explain was not fear, it was mercy. God was not confusing you. God was slowing you down long enough for the mask to slip. And that is why this hour matters, because what is surfacing now is not merely information about a person. It is revelation about a pattern, access point, and timing attack that tried to enter your life wearing a familiar face. By the time I finish, you will understand not only why this showed up, but why it showed up now, at this exact stretch of your journey, when so much feels pressurized, delayed, and strangely close all at once. And while this word is settling on you, if you can already feel that it is meeting a real place in your life, let your like be your quiet yes before God, because agreement matters when discernment is being sharpened. There are some of you who have been asking the Lord for clarity, but you did not know clarity would come like this, through interruption, through warning, through the uncomfortable mercy of being told to watch more closely than before. Hear me, not every answer comes wrapped in comfort. Some answers come wrapped in exposure. Some answers come by showing you what your emotions wanted to excuse, but your spirit never truly trusted. That is where this begins. The truth about her is finally here, but the first truth is this. What you thought was about affection, interest, loyalty, timing, chemistry, connection, or concern was actually about access. I need you to hear that without softening it. Access. Some people do not step into your life because they understand your value. They step close because something in the spirit recognizes your movement before you do. They sense transition. They sense oil. They sense vulnerability after warfare. They sense that you are carrying something costly, even if they cannot name it. And when that happens, the enemy will often test your gates through what appears relational before it ever appears openly hostile. This is why you kept feeling the need to explain yourself around her. This is why small interactions felt bigger afterward. This is why you replayed certain moments and wondered why your peace decreased instead of increased. This is why your inner life felt crowded after simple exchanges that should have been light. A person can smile and still carry an assignment. A person can sound supportive and still be probing for weakness. A person can seem drawn to you and still be drawn more to your opening than to your well-being. That does not mean every difficult relationship is demonic, and it does not mean you are called to suspicion toward everyone around you. But it does mean that when the Spirit keeps pressing a matter, wisdom does not call that overreaction. Wisdom calls that instruction. And let me tell you something else before the first major layer opens. God did not allow this word to find you because He wants you afraid of her. He allowed it because He wants you awake around her. Fear makes people messy. Discernment makes people precise. Fear makes you lunge, accuse, overshare, and lose your footing. Discernment lets you see without panicking. It lets you step back without announcing. It lets you protect what God is building without feeling the need to put on a courtroom performance for people who were never qualified to judge your obedience in the first place. If this channel keeps meeting you in these hidden places where God is talking straight to your season, subscribe and stay connected, because there are some seasons where you cannot afford to miss repeated confirmation. Now hear this carefully. The first loop is still open. Who is she, really? For some of you, yes, this concerns a literal woman. For others, it is still a woman, but the message is bigger than a single personality. Her is the face attached to a strategy. Her is the relational packaging around a pressure point. Her is the vessel through which confusion tried to make itself feel reasonable. And what makes this dangerous is that the attack did not come looking like attack. It came looking like relevance. It came looking like concern. It came looking like unexpected familiarity. It came looking like somebody who understood something tender in you. That is why it slipped so near. Not because you are foolish, but because the thing sent toward you knew it had to approach through tenderness, not force. This is where many chosen ones become hard on themselves, and I want to stop that right now. You did not miss God because someone got close. You did not fail because a pattern approached you. The failure would have been to ignore what God is showing you now. The mercy is that it is being exposed before it reaches further. And that matters more than you realize, because there is a reason heaven waited until this hour to peel the covering back. I will come to that reason in full, but stay with me, because the next layer is where the warning becomes personal. Samson did not lose his strength the day his hair was cut. He lost it in the long conversation before the cutting. He lost it in the repeated wearing down. He lost it in the place where pressure disguised itself as intimacy. He lost it where the wrong person became too close to a secret she was never called to hold. Do you see it? The danger was not only Delilah's hand. The danger was the erosion before the hand moved. It was the slow leak. It was the repeated access. It was the emotional fatigue that made discernment easier to negotiate away. Chosen one, some of you have been too focused on obvious betrayal when the Spirit has been warning you about erosion, because erosion does not always feel violent. Sometimes it feels like weariness. Sometimes it feels like constant explanation. Sometimes it feels like your clarity getting slightly dimmer each week. And this is the part many overlook. The enemy does not always need to destroy your calling in one blow. Sometimes all he wants is to drain your sharpness before the next instruction arrives. If he can keep you second-guessing, over-processing, emotionally entangled, or privately guilty for maintaining boundaries, he does not have to take your anointing to slow your movement. He only has to crowd your internal atmosphere. That is why this word carries urgency. The issue is not just what she said. The issue is what was happening to your spiritual atmosphere every time her influence brushed too close. If this is naming something your spirit has been trying to say for weeks, write, "I will watch" in the comments. Not as performance, but as a declaration that you will not sleep through your own discernment again. Because what comes next matters even more. There is one detail about this that changes how you should respond, and if you miss it, you may do the right thing in the wrong way. Here is that detail. The truth about her is not only that she wanted access. The truth about her is that she was drawn to a version of you that no longer exists, and that is why the interactions felt strange. She kept reaching for an older opening, an older wound, an older pattern, an older loneliness, an older need to be understood, rescued, chosen, affirmed, or emotionally mirrored. But God has been changing you in hidden places. So what once would have felt flattering now feels heavy. What once would have pulled you in now unsettles you. What once would have made you rush now makes you pause. And because transformation has been happening quietly, part of you was confused by your own reaction. You kept thinking, why does this feel off when nothing obvious has happened yet? Because your spirit has outgrown the doorway that old patterns used to use. This is why some of you have felt grief mixed with relief. Grief, because exposure often ends illusions, and endings can ache even when they are holy. Relief, because deep down you knew something was not clean, not settled, not clear. You could feel the strain of trying to make peace with what never carried peace. Let me say that plainly. Not every connection that awakens emotion is meant to be trusted. Not every pull is permission. Not every familiarity is covenant. Some things stir because they touch an old bruise. Some things intensify because they brush an unfinished area. And when heaven loves you too much to let repetition keep ruling your steps, he will expose the difference. There is also something heavier here. For some of you, the truth about her includes envy that was disguised as admiration. I do not say that lightly. I say it because many chosen ones mistake observation for care. Not every person who studies you honors you. Some study to compare. Some study to imitate. Some study to locate your weak points. Some study because your peace disturbs what they have made peace with in themselves. They do not always even understand their own motive, but the effect is still real. That is why you felt watched in ways that words could not fully explain. That is why your spirit stayed active after ordinary contact. Something in you knew that this attention was not simple. And if these words keep finding the places that usually stay hidden, and you feel led to stand with this work, the Ko-fi link is below. I only say that in this breath of the message because support helps these words keep reaching the people who need them in seasons like this. Now let us go deeper, because a warning without understanding can make people defensive, and God is not calling you into raw defensiveness. He is calling you into clean sight. Revelation number 1 was that this was about access. Revelation number 2 is that the access point being tested was not merely your schedule or your attention, it was your compassion. The enemy often studies where chosen people are strongest, not only where they are weakest. If you carry compassion, he may send confusion through distress. If you carry loyalty, he may send compromise through sympathy. If you carry patience, he may send delay through hope. If you carry mercy, he may send manipulation through woundedness. That does not make compassion bad. It means compassion must stay submitted to discernment, or it can be used against the vessel carrying it. This is why some of you kept feeling torn. You sensed that something was off, but you also sensed pain in her. You noticed inconsistency, but you also saw brokenness. You caught the pressure, but you also saw need. And because your heart is not cruel, part of you wanted to stay open longer than wisdom recommended. Hear me closely. Recognizing someone's pain does not obligate you to give them unguarded access. Compassion is not the same as surrendering your gates. Mercy is not the same as self-abandonment. Love is not the same as letting your peace be negotiated away, one subtle compromise at a time. What you thought was you being mean for hesitating was actually the Spirit protecting your oil. What you thought was you overthinking was often your inner witness refusing to go numb. What you thought was discomfort with no explanation was, in some cases, the Lord refusing to let you call a snare by a soft name. And before this word closes, I am going to tell you the sign that confirms when exposure has moved from warning into decision season. You need that sign, because many people know how to feel alarm, but not how to recognize timing. Let me widen the lens even further. Some of you are not dealing with romance at all. Some of you are dealing with friendship, mentorship, family, collaboration, ministry proximity, digital connection, or someone who keeps circling your life under a believable pretense. The title said her, and yes, That is precise for many of you, but the spiritual anatomy underneath it is broader. It is about a female-coded door of influence, whose effect has been to disturb clarity, hurry intimacy, or create internal confusion in a season where God has been calling you to cleaner vision. That is why this message carries so much tension. It is not gossip. It is gatekeeping. It is not pettiness. It is stewardship. And here is where the tone must sharpen. Do not confront her yet. Do not send the paragraph. Do not deliver the long explanation. Do not try to prove that you see what you see, because the moment you rush to expose what heaven is still positioning, you may alert the pattern before God finishes showing you the full map. That is the hidden layer many do not understand. Premature reaction can release unnecessary smoke around a fire God was preparing to extinguish cleanly. Silence in this hour is not weakness. Silence is surveillance. Silence is leverage. Silence is how you keep your spirit from being baited into a smaller battle than the one God is actually winning. If you know you are in a season where God is exposing things before they wound you deeper, subscribe and turn on the bell. This channel is for people carrying hidden pressure and divine timing at the same time, and repeated words matter when your next decision carries weight. Now we have reached a pivotal turn. Why now? Why is the truth about her finally here in this season, after so much ambiguity, delay, mixed signals, and private unrest? Here is the answer. Because you are closer to movement than you think. That is the part the enemy hoped you would miss. Exposure often intensifies near transition. Confusion often spikes near breakthrough. Counterfeit closeness often appears near legitimate doors. This is not because the enemy is creative. It is because he is predictable. He watches for emergence points. He watches when obedience has cost you enough that you are tired. He watches when the old season is too small, but the new season is not yet visible. He watches for in-between places, because in-between places make people hungry, and hungry people are tempted to call the wrong thing provision. This is why the Lord is warning you now, instead of later. If this were only about emotional disappointment, the message would not be pressing like this. But some of you are standing near assignments, new favor, redirection, restored rhythm, open doors, unusual meetings, or a reclaimed sense of identity that the enemy has been trying to fog at the final stretch. So the strategy came near in relational form. If he cannot stop the door, he tries to tangle the one walking toward it. If he cannot break your future, he tries to cloud your perception right before it arrives. Think about Nehemiah. The wall was going up, and the opposition did not only attack with force, it also attacked with invitation. Come down here, meet with us, step away from the work, explain yourself, negotiate in the wrong room. But Nehemiah answered with clarity, I am doing a great work, and I cannot come down. That is a word for somebody right now. The truth about her may be real, but the greater truth is that your assignment is too costly for constant distraction. Your rebuild is too sacred for private entanglement. Your peace has become too expensive to hand over every time someone reaches for familiarity without alignment. If this part confirms what season you are in, comment, I cannot come down. Let that be your line in this hour. And if there is someone you love who is fighting a hidden battle of confusion, send this word to them. Share it like a lamp, not like a weapon. Some people are one warning away from avoiding a deep wound. And while the message is moving, if these words have been steady confirmation for you in hidden seasons, you can support this ministry through Ko-fi in the description. It is simply a way to help keep this work going for the people God keeps gathering here. Now I need to uncover the thing I held back from the opening, because this is where the truth becomes sharper. The most dangerous thing about her was never only what she wanted from you, it was what her presence kept trying to activate within you. There it is. That is the deeper layer. Some people are not merely sent to enter your world, They are sent to awaken an old self that God has been trying to bury. They trigger your need to rescue. They trigger your need to over-explain. They trigger your need to be seen correctly. They trigger your fear of being misunderstood. They trigger the false belief that if you just say it better, stay longer, love harder, or prove yourself more clearly, the whole thing will finally settle into peace. But it never settles, because the unrest is not coming from poor communication. It is coming from spiritual misalignment. This is why you kept leaving those moments feeling drained instead of settled. You were not just interacting with a person, you were touching an old internal battlefield. That battlefield might be rejection. It might be abandonment. It might be the lifelong burden of trying to manage other people's emotions so that you can keep relational safety. It might be the old wound that taught you love must be earned through effort and clarity. But God is saying no more. The truth about her is exposing the truth about what still needed healing in you, and that is why this word is both warning and mercy at the same time. Do you see how holy this is? Heaven is not merely pulling someone back. Heaven is breaking a cycle. Heaven is cutting agreement with the lie that your sensitivity is a problem, that your boundary is cruelty, that your peace is negotiable, or that your assignment can survive unlimited internal leakage. This message is not only about identifying her, it is about identifying what in you stopped answering to confusion only after great cost. And that matters, because the next season of your life cannot be entered with the same porous gates that the last season barely survived. There is one detail about discernment I need to say plainly. Discernment rarely feels flattering. It often feels disruptive before it feels relieving. At first, it may even feel like guilt, because it interrupts a story your emotions hoped would become simpler. But after the initial discomfort passes, peace begins to return in layers. That is how you know the Spirit was speaking. The flesh craves immediate relief, but the Spirit protects long-term peace. The flesh wants quick certainty from the outside. The Spirit builds clean knowing from the inside. So when you feel tempted to doubt what God is surfacing, ask yourself this: when I move toward this connection, does my inner world become clearer or more crowded? Do I leave with peace or with static? Do I feel strengthened in obedience or subtly pulled into emotional labor that God never assigned me? Do I find myself guarding what is holy more carefully or leaking what is sacred too soon? These questions matter because discernment grows where honesty is allowed. And before this word shifts again, keep this close to your spirit for a moment. There is power in naming the thing you refuse to hand over casually. Because what comes next is the part the enemy truly hoped you would miss. There are some of you for whom the truth about her is already emerging externally. Patterns are being exposed. Contradictions are appearing. Stories are not lining up. Motives are becoming harder to disguise. People around you are beginning to see what you quietly felt months ago. This is important because many chosen ones carry the pain of seeing something before others are ready to acknowledge it. That loneliness can make you question yourself. It can make you think, maybe I am imagining this, maybe I am too intense, maybe I am reading too much into it. But one of the strange burdens of discernment is that you often see before you can prove, and you often feel before you can explain. That does not make the warning less real. It only means that timing governs exposure. Jesus stood under accusation and did not spend all his strength defending himself to people committed to misunderstanding him. Think about that. Perfect truth was standing in front of distorted judgment, and still he did not exhaust himself trying to win every ear in the room. There is wisdom there for you. Stop believing that clarity always requires a speech. Sometimes clarity requires a boundary. Sometimes truth is better guarded than announced. Sometimes God will vindicate you without your constant narration of events. Do not chase mutual understanding where God is calling for separation, because there is a consequence behind that pursuit that you have not been told about yet. When you keep trying to be understood by the wrong vessel, you can begin to distrust the clear instruction God already gave you. That is the hidden cost. You start editing your obedience to keep emotional peace with people who were never at peace with your path to begin with. And then the soul gets tired, the prayer life gets foggy, the courage thins out, the focus fractures. That is why this word had to come before more energy leaked out. Here is another revelation. The truth about her is finally here because God is teaching you how to distinguish invitation from intrusion. Everything that enters your life introduces itself as something. Not everything introduces itself truthfully. Intrusion often introduces itself as urgency. Intrusion often introduces itself as unusual compatibility. Intrusion often introduces itself as need. Intrusion often introduces itself as, I just feel connected to you. But invitation from God does not leave you spiritually disoriented. It may stretch you, it may humble you, it may challenge you, but it does not ask you to betray your inner witness to keep it alive. For some of you, this exposure is also linked to old family patterns. You were trained early to stay available to chaos. You were trained to read moods, carry atmospheres, fix ruptures, and call it love. So when confusion approaches in adulthood, it can feel strangely familiar. Familiarity is dangerous when it disguises bondage as normalcy. That is why the Lord has been retraining your nervous system and your spirit at the same time. He has been teaching you that peace is not boring, clarity is not cold, and boundaries are not betrayal. He has been teaching you that holy relationships do not require you to abandon yourself to maintain them. Stay where your spirit is being sharpened, because continuity matters when the Lord is untangling old patterns and preparing you for cleaner alignment. And now let me bring you to the sign I mentioned earlier, the sign that exposure has moved from warning into decision season. Here it is. When truth surfaces and your peace returns more in distance than in contact, decision time has already begun. Did you catch that? When stepping back brings more order than leaning in, God is speaking. When silence restores what conversation keeps draining, God is speaking. When your prayer life clears the moment you stop revisiting the entanglement, God is speaking. Decision season is not always announced with thunder. Sometimes it is revealed by the return of your own inner steadiness. That is why some of you have been startled by the calm that came the moment you stopped reaching. You thought you would feel grief only. Instead, you felt oxygen. You thought you would feel panic. Instead, you felt room inside yourself again. That is not an accident. That is often the Spirit confirming that the pressure was not holy, the attachment was not clean, or the access being pursued was not aligned with what God is preserving in you. Still, there is compassion here, and I do not want to lose it. Some of you are asking, is she evil? Is she aware? Is everything deliberate? The answer will not be the same in every case. Some people are consciously manipulative. Others are profoundly unhealed and being used by patterns they have never confronted. Some are acting out envy. Some are acting out need. Some are acting out spiritual dullness. Some are simply accustomed to reaching past boundaries because no one ever held one in front of them. Your assignment is not to diagnose every motive. Your assignment is to obey what God is showing you. Discernment is not about labeling everybody. It is about guarding the life God breathed into your stewardship. So do not make this word into vanity. Do not turn it into superiority. Do not use it as proof that you are more spiritual than someone else, because the moment discernment becomes ego, it stops sounding like heaven. But do not minimize it either, because false humility can be just as dangerous as pride when it keeps you exposed to what God is warning you about. Stay low, stay clean, stay alert. That is the posture. If this word is giving language to what your spirit has been carrying in silence, and you want to help keep messages like this available for others walking through hidden warfare, the Ko-fi link is below. no pressure, just a quiet way to support this work if you feel led. Now the message turns again, because protection is not only about who leaves your life, it is also about what returns to your life once the noise lifts. Some of you have been grieving what was leaving while not yet noticing what was returning: your focus, your sleep, your appetite for prayer, your ability to hear God without static, your creativity, your self-respect, your sense of pace, your capacity to enjoy silence instead of fearing it. This is crucial, because sometimes we think deliverance is only dramatic expulsion, but often deliverance is the gradual return of yourself after prolonged internal strain. What you thought was loneliness was sometimes detox. What you thought was emptiness was sometimes clearing. What you thought was the ache of losing potential was sometimes the pain of an old hook being removed. Stay with me, because this is where it turns. You are not merely being warned away from a person. You are being walked back into your own consecration. You are being reminded that your life cannot be built on constant inner contradiction. God is not asking you to be suspicious. He is teaching you to be undivided. And when the Lord teaches a chosen one to become undivided, several things begin to happen. Your no becomes cleaner. Your yes becomes more precious. Your time stops leaking into unnecessary interpretation. Your emotions stop being cheap entry points. Your empathy matures. Your prayer deepens. Your obedience becomes less performative and more rooted. You stop needing applause to confirm what peace already proved. That is why the enemy hates this stage of your life, because once you learn the difference between tenderness and trespass, certain old strategies stop working almost completely. There is yet another revelation here, and I need to state it strongly. The truth about her is finally here, because God does not want you entering your next chapter with unresolved reverence for what hurt you. Some of you have quietly idolized people who destabilized you, not because you enjoyed pain, but because intensity can masquerade as significance. The highs felt meaningful. The mystery felt profound. The emotional charge felt rare. But heaven is breaking that spell. Intensity is not proof of destiny. Confusion is not proof of depth. Being hard to read is not the same as being spiritually important. Some things feel powerful only because they keep your nervous system activated. That is not covenant. That is turmoil wearing the costume of meaning. This matters for the future, because if you call turmoil sacred, you will mistrust the steady blessings God sends next. You will mistake peace for lack of chemistry. You will mistake clarity for boredom. You will mistake safety for absence of depth. And then you will sabotage gentle gifts, because your soul was trained on storm language. But the Lord is healing that lens in you. He is teaching you that what is from Him may still be deep, but it will not require your inner fragmentation as proof. Before I pray later, there is one more thing that must be settled. Some of you think the main victory will be that she is exposed, but that is not the main victory. The main victory is that you become unavailable to the pattern that once made her effective. Exposure is temporary if the internal doorway remains open. That is why God is dealing with both the external signal and the internal agreement. He is not only saying, "Watch her," He is also saying, "Watch what in you starts to wake up around her. Watch the urge to chase closure. Watch the urge to justify boundaries. Watch the urge to prove purity. Watch the urge to be the one who finally heals what God never assigned you to heal. Watching her without watching yourself is incomplete discernment. If that landed, let that choice settle into your own atmosphere. Because the next layer is not merely about defense, it is about authority. Authority does not always look loud. Sometimes authority looks like not moving when bait is thrown. Sometimes authority looks like letting time reveal what emotion once resolved immediately. Sometimes authority looks like refusing to turn private warning into public spectacle. Sometimes authority looks like a door quietly closing while heaven watches your obedience mature. This is why chosen ones often feel misunderstood in seasons of separation. From the outside, it may look like distance. In the spirit, it is precision. From the outside, it may look like indifference. In the spirit, it is agreement with what God is safeguarding. Let me say something tender before the edge sharpens again. Some of you are mourning the possibility more than the person. You are grieving what you hoped this might become. You are grieving the version of the story that seemed like it could finally be easy, mutual, safe, or redemptive. And because you are grieving possibility, you have been tempted to call the warning too harsh. But grief does not make discernment false. You can grieve and obey at the same time. You can ache and still close the gate. You can be sad and still move wisely. Obedience is not invalid just because tears are present. In fact, for many of you, tears are proof that this matters enough to handle with reverence, not proof that you should ignore the warning. Do not shame yourself for feeling. Do not shame yourself for needing a minute. Just do not let feeling outrank clarity. There is a difference. And now, the tone sharpens once more. Watch the comeback attempt. Because once access is resisted, patterns often re-enter with increased softness, increased apology, increased urgency, increased vulnerability, or increased nostalgia. This is the part where many people think, maybe I misjudged it, maybe I was too firm, maybe this is the real truth now. But hear this carefully. Sometimes the second wave is not deeper sincerity. Sometimes it is strategic adaptation, not always, but often enough that you must test the fruit, not the emotion of the moment. Has accountability appeared? Has clarity increased? Has respect for boundaries strengthened? Has the atmosphere become cleaner? Or are you simply feeling the old hook, with better wording wrapped around it? Do not reopen too quickly, because reopening before fruit appears can reactivate confusion you just crawled out of. And the hidden layer behind that is serious. Repeated re-entry can normalize instability until you forget what your original alarm felt like. That is how people talk themselves out of discernment. They keep giving fresh names to the same unrest. They keep baptizing pattern repetition as one more chance. But grace without truth becomes fog, and God is not fogging your vision in this season. He is cleaning it. If this word found the place nobody sees, hit like as your act of agreement that you will not return to confusion once clarity has come. Now listen, we are nearing the deepest interpretive turn of this whole message. The truth about her is finally here, yes, but the deeper truth is that God trusted you with this exposure because He is restoring your confidence in how He speaks to you. Some of you lost confidence in your discernment through years of gaslighting, dismissal, mislabeling, or spiritual environments that taught you to ignore your inner witness until an authority figure validated it. So when God began speaking directly through unease, timing, and interrupted peace, you questioned it. You thought, maybe I need more proof. Maybe I need somebody else to tell me. Maybe I need a louder sign. But in this hour, the Lord is retraining you to trust the way peace departs, the way clarity returns, the way patterns repeat, the way your prayer life reacts, and the way your inner world responds in His presence. That is not superstition, that is relationship. You are learning that not every warning arrives as a dramatic dream or a thunderous prophecy. Sometimes it arrives as a steady, holy refusal to feel settled where you thought you should feel safe. Sometimes it arrives as a name that keeps pressing on your spirit for no reason your mind can justify yet. Sometimes it arrives as emotional static that lifts the moment you step back. These are not minor things. They are often the language of protection. And because God is restoring your confidence, the enemy is losing one of his favorite tools against you, self-doubt after revelation. That alone is huge, because once self-doubt loses ground, obedience speeds up, You stop bargaining. You stop forcing peace in wrong places. You stop needing 7 more signs to honor the first one. You stop explaining your boundaries to people who only wanted your availability, not your wholeness. If this word has become a witness for your spirit, subscribe and stay connected, because God often speaks with continuity before major shifts. Now I must expose one final piece before we enter the prayer. Some of you thought the sentence, "The truth about her is finally here," meant only that God would expose her to you. But for many of you, the truth about her is also this: she was never sent to complete you. She was allowed near long enough to reveal what still needed guarding, healing, and strengthening in you before the right doors open. That does not make the pain fake. It makes the lesson holy. It means God was not absent in the tension. He was teaching, marking, refining, and rescuing you inside it. What felt like delay was often training. What felt like confusion was often contrast. What felt like loss was often protection, arriving before catastrophe had the chance to mature. So no, do not romanticize the warfare. Do not glorify the wound. But do not waste the revelation either. This exposure can save you years. This warning can preserve focus. This clarity can protect your next yes. This severing can free your joy. This boundary can make room for cleaner relationships, better discernment, and stronger obedience than you have known in a long time. And if you are wondering whether you missed your chance by not seeing it sooner, hear this: you are being told now, because now is still mercy. If it were too late, you would not be hearing this with this much clarity. The fact that the word found you while you still have choice, agency, breath, and room to obey is proof that God is preserving more than you realize. There is still something ahead worth protecting. There is still oil on your life worth guarding. There is still movement in your future worth taking seriously. Before I pray, let the comments carry one more simple declaration: I will not trade peace for confusion. Keep it short, keep it honest. Let it stand there as a witness between you and God. And if this message truly helped you and you feel led to give back, the coffee link is there below for anyone who wants to support this work. Now let me pray over you. Father, in the name of Jesus, I pray over the one listening right now, the one whose spirit has been carrying a warning they could not fully explain, the one who has been wrestling between compassion and clarity, the one who has been asking whether what they feel is real or whether they are simply tired, guarded, or wounded. Lord, let your peace settle with authority over their mind, their body, their decisions, and their inner atmosphere. I ask you to clear the fog completely, not halfway, not in fragments only. Clear the fog completely. Where there has been confusion, bring sharpness. Where there has been emotional pressure, bring holy distance. Where there has been guilt around obedience, break that guilt and replace it with clean courage. I pray, Father, that every counterfeit access point being tested around this listener would be exposed by your mercy before it reaches deeper into their life. Let every mask slip at the right time. Let every hidden motive come into the light. Let every pattern that depends on confusion lose its strength. Let every conversation that has been feeding unrest lose its power over their nervous system, their emotions, and their peace. I ask for a holy unhooking in the spirit. Untangle what has been tangled. Silence what has been noisy. Sever what has been clinging without covenant, what has been pressing without permission, what has been drawing without alignment. And Lord, I ask not only for external protection, but for internal healing. Where this person has old doors of rejection, mend them. Where they have old doors of over-explaining, heal them. Where they have old doors of rescuing, retrain them. Where they have old doors of craving mutual understanding from people who never intended to understand them cleanly, close those doors with mercy and strength. Heal the part that thought love meant labor without peace. Heal the part that thought compassion meant self-erasure. Heal the part that kept bargaining with unrest because it feared the ache of letting go. Father, let discernment mature in them without making them hard. Let wisdom sharpen in them without making them proud. Let boundaries strengthen in them without making them cruel. Keep their heart tender before you and precise before confusion. Teach them the difference between someone being broken and someone being permitted inside their gates. Teach them the difference between mercy and unnecessary access. Teach them the difference between invitation and intrusion. And even as I pray this, one more thing is being loosed over them: confidence in the way you speak. Restore that confidence now. Restore confidence where self-doubt was trained through years of mixed signals. Restore confidence where gaslighting made them question their own peace. Restore confidence where spiritual pressure made them second-guess the first warning you sent. Restore confidence where they needed louder signs because they no longer trusted the quiet language of unease, interruption, and returning peace. Let them learn your voice in the movement of their own surrendered spirit. Let them trust what leaves when they step back. Let them trust what clears when they go still. Let them trust the patterns you keep highlighting, the unrest you keep interrupting, the names you keep pressing on their spirit for a reason. I pray, Lord, that they would not react in the flesh. Guard them from impulsive confrontation. Guard them from dramatic exposure. Guard them from the urge to prove, explain, win, rescue, or overstate. Place a watch over their mouth. Place a guard over their timing. Let them move with heaven's pace, not wounded urgency. If they need silence, bless that silence. If they need distance, strengthen that distance. If they need one final instruction before a door closes, let it come with unmistakable peace. But do not let them reopen what you are helping them leave. Just because loneliness knocks at the same hour, clarity finally arrived. I ask you to break every unholy cycle of attraction to confusion, attraction to instability, attraction to intensity that has no peace under it. Break the reverence for what destabilizes them. Break the fascination with what keeps them guessing. Break the false idea that depth must always hurt before it becomes holy. Replace it with a clean appetite for what is steady, true, safe, aligned, and life-giving. Retrain their soul to honor peace. Retrain their heart to trust gentleness. Retrain their spirit to recognize that what is from you does not require inner fragmentation as proof. And Lord, for the one who is grieving possibility right now, hold them with tenderness. For the one who is embarrassed that it took time to see clearly, cover them with mercy. For the one who is angry at themselves for reopening certain doors in the past, wash them in grace. For the one who is afraid that boundaries will leave them alone, meet them with your presence so deeply that they do not run back toward noise just to escape silence. Be very near to them in this hour. Let them know that your warning is not rejection, your warning is protection, your interruption is not punishment, your interruption is love with eyes open. I pray over their future now. Guard the next season, guard the next relationship, guard the next friendship, guard the next collaboration, guard the next opportunity, guard the next conversation that matters. Let what belongs in their life come with witness, clarity, and increasing peace. Let what does not belong lose proximity, lose influence, and lose its ability to create confusion around their steps. Make them too awake to be casually accessed, and too healed to be easily hooked by old patterns wearing new clothes. And Father, I seal this word over them in the name of Jesus. Seal their gates, seal their mind, seal their peace, seal their discernment, seal their sleep. Seal their appetite for holiness, seal their obedience, seal their future yes. And even as this prayer seals, let one more grace settle on them, the grace not to look back with longing at what you called them out of. Remove the glamour from confusion, Remove the ache that romanticizes unrest. Remove the false nostalgia that makes old bondage feel meaningful. Let truth stand brighter than memory. Let peace stand stronger than longing. Let obedience stand taller than emotion. I declare that they will not trade peace for confusion. They will not trade clarity for chemistry. They will not trade obedience for attention. They will not trade consecration for closeness that costs too much. They will not come down from the work you have given them. They will not apologize for guarding what you made sacred. They will not silence discernment to keep a door open that heaven is quietly closing. They will not be ruled by guilt. They will not be ruled by fear. They will not be ruled by loneliness. They will be led. And as they leave this word, let them leave with steadiness. Let them leave with clean sight. Let them leave with courage that does not need noise. Let them leave with tenderness that still knows how to say no. Let them leave with the deep reassurance that you are preserving them for something real, something whole, something aligned, something that will not ask them to betray the peace you have fought so hard to restore. I bless their spirit with alertness. I bless their heart with healing. I bless their steps with timing. I bless their gates with wisdom. I bless their future with protection. In Jesus' name, Amen.